Ms. Glenda Setshedi.
Are you excited to be here? I'm excited to be here. Let me start by welcoming you to this talk. And I just want to kick off with a quote. It says, innovation isn't about the best tech solutions. It's about taking impactable, adaptable solutions and applying it to our daily lives. What does this mean? It means I don't have to come up with the best innovation solution. All I just need to do is solve problems that exist in our local communities. Can I have the pointer? I've been doing. So we're just going to give him a round of applause. Yeah, he's on point. So empowering future startups as agents of change. What does this mean? Let's look at what startups can do. Startups drive entrepreneurship and economic growth. By creating new businesses, we're fostering innovation. What does this mean? It means the thriving township economy depends on startup and entrepreneurship. Startups challenge the status quo. It means the current status and problems that we experience in our local communities rest with solutions of startups. Let's look at a story. Now we're going to look at our timeline story of impact. Innovation solutions to societal problems. Let me first introduce you to Delivery ka Speed. Delivery ka Speed is a locally found last-mile food delivery service. What did Hudi do in his story? Hudi went out, realized that the township economy didn't have delivery services, and he went out and developed e-scooters that go into townships with routes and deliver for big corporate companies. But what does he also do? He's got something called Stock ka Speed. Stock ka Speed solves the problems of local businesses. This means that local businesses can dive into ordering stock online and having the stock delivered at their stores, solving problems that exist in our day-to-day life. I cannot stop but speak about the fun fact. Global stats indicate that startups will contribute 90% of the job market in 2030. This means that if we are speaking unemployment, we cannot isolate speaking about startups. Let's look at another technological advancement in industry disruption. I am excited to speak about this particular brand, X Innovation. These are young girls who saw a problem in the healthcare industry and addressed it. They developed digital X-ray glasses. You are going to meet these amazing, beautiful women that have come up with such an innovation. But they experienced a simple story, like standing at a local hospital for 4 hours and realizing that they need to solve a problem to get an X-ray done. We'll speak a little bit more about that innovation. Startups are the engine of economic growth. They are equally important for social progress. It means that we cannot speak about thriving township economies if we're not addressing social progress. What is social progress? Social progress speaks to the thriving societal problems that exist. It means to speak to local communities that are thriving in terms of issues. Why do we speak about unemployment? Why do we speak about not having things that can be done locally? Recreational activities. We seek to address those problems. Now I want to speak about Cliff Cafe. Cliff Cafe exists in Hammanskraal, a township coffee shop. Do you know what he was told? People in the township don't drink coffee. Why would you even try? But he was the first to set up a township coffee shop, and today he sits in about 10 township malls where he offers coffee as a service. This is disruption. Can we get a clap for that? Absolutely. Now, I cannot get excited, but speak to the way in which these particular local startups disrupt the ways of thinking. It means it creates new pathways of doing things. They influence behavior and they reshape attitude. It means our attitude of saying people in the township don't normally drink coffee, we reshape that norm, right? It means people can do business locally without having to travel to the local CBDs. Humanitarian crisis and aid response. Now this is a baby that they spoke about right at the beginning. A passion that when I speak about, I cannot isolate. Pathfinders. Pathfinders is a local incubation hub, as stated before, that incubates about 51 startups that are driving change. Pathfinder startups, let's give you a practical example. On Mandela Day, Pathfinders, these are local businesses, donated 3,715 pads to local schools. That means they went out there as local businesses and collected 3,715 pads. We could make a difference in 10 schools. Let's look at also what Pathfinders does. Hammanskraal had a water crisis. Local businesses stepped out. They came and donated bottles of water, kind of fixing the water problem that happened in Hammanskraal. I want to also speak about the July unrest. July unrest, malls were being attacked. Startups and local businesses stepped up to protect Jubilee Mall, which exists in Hammanskraal. This is the impact of local startups. Now let's look at other things that startups can address. Startups address empowerment, they aid to lessen unemployment, the environmental sustainability, empowering and underrepresented economies, means that we can now represent startups that people that were not represented before are represented in the township economy. I want to speak about also education skills. Through Pathfinders, we have entrepreneurs that are able to then provide skills training to local kids, meaning that the baking experience, barista training, this is what startups can do. So I'm encouraging young people to formulate startups that solve problems that exist in our day-to-day life. I want to speak at the global outreach. Now, while startups face a lot of challenges as well, we cannot isolate them in the challenges that they experience every single day. We still experience a lot of red tape for startups to be able to formulate innovation. We still cannot over-talk about the resources that don't exist in local townships for startups to thrive. Let me give you a practical example. Next innovation to come into formulation. These poor innovators had to travel from Hammanskraal to Johannesburg every single day just to come up with a prototype. For me, it just means there isn't enough resources that aid startups to thrive. Now, who are Pathfinders? Like we said, we are a local incubation hub that onboards 51 local businesses. Our job is to empower local businesses to thrive and partner with the mainstream economy. Now, let's look at the potential of startups to revitalize communities. What does that particular quote say? Small business, big impact. I cannot overemphasize the amount of impact startups have in terms of local communities. Let me give you a practical example. I was in the US a couple of years ago, and I met a city called South Bend. South Bend was a dilapidated town where there exists factory life and all of that, once booming at some point. But now, through South Bend, they are using startups to revitalize that particular community, providing employment, stabilizing the town, the local economy, and making sure that startups have the necessary resources that they need. Now, we've got something called the Pathfinders Buy Local, Sell Global. And why is it that we don't say buy local and buy local, create local or sell local? This is because we want to challenge young people to not just come up with startups locally, but to come up with startups that will disrupt the global economy. It is a responsibility that as young South Africans today, we speak about why it is important that we formulate local businesses, but that can trade on a global scale. Half of the time when we're speaking at a township level, we're always speaking about startups, buy local, sell local, and that's where it ends. But when you travel the world, you realize that startups disrupt on a global scale. So I'm saying to you as young people today, develop local, but sell global. You need to speak about how you're disrupting the global market. Don't just formulate for your own local township. Now, this is where we come in. I say startups need to actively seek ideas and solve global problems. This is what we advocate for at Pathfinders. We cannot be operating at small scale and remaining as local businesses. We need to be disrupting at a global level. This is also one of our biggest quotes. At Pathfinders, we say, when you buy local, you buy hope. But what does hope do? Hope sees the invisible, feels the intangible, and achieves the impossible. I cannot emphasize just some of the things that have happened in my personal life, and I will tell you a little bit about myself towards the end. Hope also is when everything tells you to give up. Hope whispers, try one more time. It means that as a local startup, you are going to face challenges. There's going to be times where you want to give up on that idea, right? Simply because there aren't the necessary resources and you're not getting the right people to listen. But guess what? Hope is the very same thing that says to you, try again. Try again. You're going to fail, but try again. I remember coming back during COVID, having to be vaccinated from the US, and someone told me, how do you intend on giving back to your community? I said, I intend on making sure that the global community knows about where I come from. But where do I come from? I come from Tamba, Hammanskraal, where we have a water problem, and people speak about that. That's all I'm identified as. But guess what? When I stood on a global scale, I could tell people about where I come from and the amazing startups and communities that exist. Guess what? Last year in September, we had a whole US cohort come and visit Hammanskraal simply because they met a local girl from Tamba. But let me tell you a little bit about who I am. I'm Glenda Setshedi. I've traveled 19 countries and I'm doing my 20th one. And I currently speak on behalf of Pathfinders. I'm a JCI Top 10 Outstanding Young Person of South Africa 2021. I'm a Fabulous Award winner 2023. And I'm also a PhD candidate at the University of Notre Dame in the USA. I cannot. And if anything, I want you, at the end of this talk, to remember the one thing that I said. And I will go back to the slide. Buy local, buy hope. And this is what I'm saying again to you. Hope sees the invisible, feels the intangible, and achieves the impossible. Hope is the very thing that when everything tells you to give up, hope whispers one more time and says, try again. Thank you so much.
Wow. This is so cool. Like, I can really feel that it is Women's Month. Don't you think she was really cool? Now, by a show of hands, and if you're online, just comment down below me, who here wants to start their own business someday? Show of hands. Okay. We've got a few. So Pathfinders is the platform just for you guys. Now,
Absolutely.
We're gonna have roaming mics going around. We're gonna just take about 2 or 3 questions, okay? So if you guys have questions, please feel free to ask Glenda about it. But I wanna find out, because I found the delivery Gaspiti really interesting. Now, how did they come to actually entering your platform?
Okay, so with Delivery Speed is that he already had an innovative idea. Okay. But if we create systems that support these local businesses in townships, it meant that Delivery Speed could reach access through small businesses. So who were the people that started using Delivery Speed? A local app where someone can order food and it gets delivered at your house. It means that Hudi explored the last mile, of which most corporate companies were not exploring in townships. So he joins our particular platform because he's empowered by businesses. We could provide the access to the many other customers that businesses serve. So as part of the network, if he onboards 51 businesses, you can imagine how many people work in those particular businesses and the communities that they affect. So Hudi joins our platform and becomes part of us. But guess what? Local businesses then advocate for his business, similar to Stock Gaspiti. If Stock Gaspiti, who are the major users of Stock Gaspiti, if not Pathfinders, which are local businesses? So they then order on his app, and then that's how we do business.